Aston Martin DB12. From pound 185,0559. Replacement for the DB11 Grand Tourer packs a 671 brake horsepower V8 and has the Bentley Continental GT and Ferrari Roma in its sights. Design and styling. 12 follows 11 here, then, in all ways but figuratively, with the number of cylinders under that newly pinched and ridged bonnet. Whereas the Aston Martin DB11 could be had with either 4.0-litre V8 or 5.2-litre V12 turbo power, Aston has concentrated its engineering effort, this time on a revised version of that V8 from Mercedes-AMG, which develops significantly more than even the old DB11 AMR's V12 managed 671 brake horsepower at 6,000 RPM, and a healthy 15% more torque of 590 pounds-feet from 2750 RPM. A Mercedes-sourced plug-in hybrid version of the car is being developed for introduction in 2026. From some angles, in particular the rear and in profile, you still see the DB11 in this car, yet both the head-on view and the overall proportions look like a big step forward and worthy of a new name. In the metal, it's easy to tell the DB11 and DB12 apart. The DB12 is wider and more purposeful and looks like it has far greater sporting intent. Indeed, the company doesn't call it a Grand Tourer now but a Super Tourer, no, not like the ones from the 1990s BTCC. According to Aston, Grand is not enough to describe it, which sounds like a cross between a James Bond film and what's needed to pay the average energy bill these days. For better to underpromise and overdeliver when it comes to launches like these, history teaches. Chassis-wise, a redesign of key components within the DB11's bonded aluminium monocoque brings a 7% improvement to torsional rigidity for the new car and, allowing for the weight saved under the bonnet, delivers an 85 kg weight saving overall compared with the launch spec DB11 V12 in a car that's slightly shorter but wider. Elsewhere, the DB12 becomes the first Aston DB model with a torque vectoring electronic rear differential like that of the smaller Aston Martin Vantage sports car, and also gets firmer suspension springs and anti-roll bars than the DB11 had, plus new latest generation adaptive dampers. Unlike its predecessors, it has a rigid-mounted electromechanical steering system for the enhanced steering precision and feedback such as system grants. Interior. On the launch of the Aston Martin DBX707 in 2022, a heavily overhauled version of the DBX, we were given the obligatory show-around of the car. All was going well until we got inside, and I prodded the screen on the dashboard. "Yeah, that's still not a touchscreen," came the awkward reply. However spectacular Aston Martins look, sound and perform, nothing screams old tech these days more than a large display screen in the middle of a dashboard that you can't operate by touch. Whether touchscreens are a good thing is another debate, but you get what I mean. On a car launched in 2022, as the DBX707 was, and built by a car maker positioning itself at the very top of the industry, it wasn't really good enough, however fantastic the rest of the car was. The cabin's other main area of progress, meanwhile, is undoubtedly its material quality, which is now on a par with Bentleys in places and well beyond that of a Ferrari. There's a chunky engine start button with a rotating collar around it for juggling driving modes, which both feel expensive to the touch, as do the knolled metal roller toggles for heater temperature and audio volume control. There's now in places the look and feel of a high-end, military chic watch about the DB12's cabin. There's plenty of room in the car, decent storage and usable occasional back seats. The DB12 isn't quite as large as some 2+2 luxury coupes, nor is its cabin quite as roomy, although there's plenty of room up front so you don't feel too intimately acquainted with your passenger and you don't bang elbows across the center console, while kids of up to about the age of 12 could comfortably travel in the back seats. Engines and performance. On the road, the DB12's V8 doesn't want for much, certainly not outright power, nor mid-range response, nor effusive audible presence. Thanks not only to that headline power output but also a shortened final drive ratio, the car feels much quicker and keener than its predecessor ever did, but it's still more soulful and mellow than a visceral, frenetic Ferrari V8 might be. Gaydon has very cleverly conjured greater energy, rapidity and vigor for this car without making it higher strung, or any less effective as a long-striding GT. The gearbox shifts smoothly in GT mode, quicker in Sport and Sport Plus, holding lower gears for longer, but without overworking the active rear differential, or making the car feel hyperactive. Even in slippery conditions, the DB12's ground covering composure is first-rate. We spent some time with Aston chairman Lawrence Stroll who, in a throwaway but deliberate remark, called the DB11 slow. The engineers clearly took that to heart, as the DB12 feels more DBS than DB11 in that respect. Even so, the 8-speed automatic gearbox is nicely matched to the engine with a more Super Tourer positioning in mind. The gearshifts don't want for any extra crispness or the savageness that a dual-clutch box would bring. The engine sounds suitably epic, too, nicely savage but mellifluous with it, although not quite as wonderful as Aston's old atmospheric V12 at revs. So friends, that's a little information, or a short review that we can summarize. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comments and share for other latest video updates. Thanks for watching.